This is what so many people that are listening and watching are doing right now. They're putting time in their precious week to make this content, and it's content that is bringing in audience that will never fucking buy from you. What a waste.
That's Ralston, the secret strategist behind GaryVee and Alex Hormozi, two of the world's biggest personal brands. In this episode, Caleb reveals the exact system he used to scale Hormozi's brand to 11.5 million followers.
I believe that the reason why a personal brand blows up, that happens by having a very strong,
insane. The 4-step blueprint to build a personal brand.
It's 4 very simple, very basic questions that gives you an immense amount of clarity. What is the goal? What would I need to be known for? The third question is about, and then the next question that you ask is,
the biggest mistake people make when trying to grow with content.
You're not putting the attention or resources towards innovation. You're doing what you know works, nothing more. What are we going to do differently?
What he learned directly working with GaryVee.
Gary one day walked out of his office, opened the door and said, team, we are prioritizing. I don't care what we have to do. This is gonna be the biggest thing. The 2.0 of this conversation that I never really share is like,
yes. This is a brand building masterclass. I really hope you enjoy it. If you do, subscribe and let's dive in.
Let's get crazy.
Great. So Caleb, so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
You have built personal brands for GaryVee, Alex Hormozi, so many like incredible entrepreneurs. I'd love to make this podcast a masterclass for anyone out there who's looking to build a personal brand and have success with it, and go through maybe step by step what they need to do, some of the mistakes to watch out for, and the frameworks that will make it a lot easier for them to do. Would you be down for sharing all of your 10 plus years experience building brands?
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you start? If someone comes to you and says, look, Caleb, I've heard and I've seen a lot of people having success building a personal brand, putting out content to grow their business. Like what should they be doing? What's the first step?
Well, I think a lot of people are talking about building a personal brand right now. It's the buzz, it's what everybody's doing. And I think what a lot of people are falling into the trap of is they just start making content to check a box. They're like, well, I gotta, sell people, I gotta market, I better make content. And I think that a lot of people would be better served in making content if they start with the end in mind. I am not a life advice kind of guy, but I think this is also very applicable to life and navigating things that we go through every day. I like to tell people to start with the end in mind. And so I use what I call the brand journey framework. It's 4 very simple, very basic questions that gives you an immense amount of clarity. And so we start with the question that is our end destination. And so I always ask, what is the goal? What is the outcome that we want to have happen on the other side of building this personal brand? Because if you're going to do that, you're investing a lot.
Yeah.
Money, time, vulnerability, right? Like you're way more transparent with the audience and public than if you choose not to do that. So there's a lot that you're investing. So I think you need to know why you're doing this. Otherwise, I think a lot of people actually probably don't need to make content. I think a lot of them probably shouldn't. But anyways, you start with that question. And then the next question that you ask is, what would I need to be known for in order to get that outcome that I desire, right? The third question is about doing. We become known for things not by what we talk about, but by the actions that we have taken and the results that we get. And so it's, what would I have to do in order to be known for the thing to get the outcome that I want? The last question brings us to today, which is, what would I need to learn in order to do the things to become known for the thing to get the outcome I want? So like if you, for example, want to speak on stages to inspire young women to build a successful business, you probably need to be known as a woman who has built a successful business and helped other women build a successful business. Okay. Well, in order to be known for that, you got to build the successful business and help people. But then within that, business has so many different departments, right? Marketing, sales, HR. And within each of these departments, there are millions of little skills that you need to learn. And that gives you the roadmap of how you go from right now to your desired outcome.
So let's go through those questions one by one.
Let's do it.
Let's give some examples. So question one, hit me with it.
Yeah. What is your desired outcome? What do you want to have happen?
So for me, the answer would be I want leads to my business, and then maybe opportunities that I don't even know exist come to me based on my expertise. Would that be like a good answer to that?
It's a good starting point. I would go back and forth. So I'll give you mine first.
Yeah.
I have the ambition, and it's a little audacious, but I would like to work with the number one industry experts in whatever category I find interesting at the time. In order to have that happen, I would need to be known as somebody who has helped scale personal brands that convert in the way the personal brand desires in multiple spaces.
Yeah.
Right now, I've only done it in entrepreneurship. I haven't worked with a scientist.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't worked with a musician. Right? And so in order to get my desired outcome, I need to be known as being able to do this in multiple spaces. So then the third one becomes very clear. What do I need to do? I need to work with a scientist or a whatever, right? I'm just using that as a random example. It could be a painter, it could be anything. Because I just want to work with industry experts, right? And then what would I need to learn? Well, when I decide what industry I'm going to jump into and work with a personal brand, I need to learn that industry.
Sure.
I need to learn the viewer, the customer, all of that. And so that gives me a very clear path for these next, call it 5 years. I don't know what the timeline actually will be, but that's what I will be working on.
So they're all really useful questions. So the first step is getting a really robust answer to each of those and maybe going back and forward and thinking about them.
It's wildly simple. It's not necessarily easy to actually answer these questions in a way that is going to be useful, right? Like, we're actually working on this like fun little project that we're developing a GPT around this. And we're training it to like push back hard if it's not a clear and measurable answer. Because if it is a little bit more vague, right, then your roadmap is going to be more vague and you're not going to have clarity on what actions you need to take in order to get to your desired outcome.
What's the next step? Do I just start making content? Like, what would you advise me to do?
A general answer is there's going to be two people. One person, they're going to need to make content to discover what I'm about to share. The other can hear what I'm about to say and actually sit down and work on this right now. It's your brand positioning. And this gets like wildly overcomplicated by a lot of really big branding agencies that work with all the Fortune 100s. And I think they do amazing work and it makes sense why they do it. I'm a simple guy, so I like to keep things simple. I believe that the reason why a personal brand blows up, not has lots of views, but blows up and has a very strong connection with their audience to where their audience is willing to do what they say. I believe that happens by having a very strong contrarian belief. That is the most important thing. Everyone right now is talking about titles, thumbnails, your hook. I don't think that's what causes a strong personal brand. I think that gets lots of views and attention. But I think we could probably all relate to this. There's a lot of creators that we consume on different platforms, right? Yeah. Like the team that you have here, like we all consume on the different platforms. And there's a lot of creators that we are not subscribed to. We do not follow. It shows up in our feed. We consume it, but we could not tell you what their name is right now.
Yeah.
There's no brand, right? And I believe that is the case because we live in a world right now where all these content gurus and fucking assholes are telling people to just download the transcript and then make it for themselves.
Yeah.
AKA don't have an actual opinion on anything. Just regurgitate what you're hearing. Yeah. Just information, AKA the commodity. This is the only thing that everybody can do, right? And so I believe that the best thing that you can do is figure out, what do I believe about my industry or the world that is different than everybody else? I've already shared it at least 5 times in this podcast, mine. Right? I haven't said it directly, but I've alluded to it. My belief, my contrarian view is I think personal brands should be built off of trust and optimizing around trust, not virality. The majority of the industry talks about going viral, all of them. And that's great. To be clear, there's nothing wrong with going viral, but I think optimizing around it is the problem. And so that's my contrarian belief. And I think it's the only reason why we're having, a semblance of some success on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. It's not because people want to hear me talk. That's definitely not it. It's that they're seeing, oh, wow, there is a wildly different take than what everybody else in the industry is saying. GaryVee did this, right? He entered the space when all of marketing was about television ads, billboards, mailers. And he's like, there's this crazy thing called Facebook, right? Yeah. Cody Sanchez is another great example. At the height of society thinking that the only way to get rich is to be a tech founder, the Airbnb of blank, she was like, actually, you could be a plumber and be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right? Wildly different message than what everybody else was saying. And I think that's the reason why these brands really blow up.
How do you decide what your POVs are?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question.
It's amazing though, isn't it? It's amazing though, because when I think of Gary, I just think of all of those strong opinions he had. It's just audio and speech is the future. TikTok is the future. He's always got a big prediction. He's always got a strong POV. Yeah. And you're right. It just hammers in your brain.
Yeah. It stands out.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when I ask them this question, what do you believe different? They have a very tough time answering the question. People that are really, really in it and have been in it for a long time, they have no problem answering it. But the people that are a little bit newer, I'm talking less than 8 years in the industry you've been in, you probably couldn't articulate it on the spot. So what I encourage people to do is, there's a very easy way to do this. Draw 2 columns on a sheet of paper. On the left side, you're going to write out all the things that the gurus, creators, influencers in your space are saying that you do not agree with, that you see slightly different, even if it's a tiny little nuance difference that you have. You're going to write those things out. And the other thing, especially for the people that are newer, that I would encourage them to do is, in addition to that, write out all the things that you see other creators do in your space that you're like, I would never want to touch that. I don't want to do that, right? Whether it's statements, offers, ways of packaging offers, or formats of content, right? The example I always give, and I don't hate the real estate agents that do this, but the real estate agents that would point to text on TikTok, we all saw that. If you don't like that, write that on the left side. And then on the right side, it's not complicated. You're just going to write out the exact opposite of all those things. And that's going to be your messaging and what you choose to do in your content. And this gives you an immediate starting point on what things that you can start to speak about that you believe differently than what the industry norms are.
Yeah.
Another one real quick to throw out there is, not only is it what other influencers or other people are saying, but depending on what industry you're in, there's a lot of industry tropes.
Yeah.
Statements that people write. Another one that I hate is, all press is good press. People have been saying that for years, but it's I could give you a million different examples of how that is not true, right? But that's a typical trope in brand, in media and marketing that everyone says. And so I would also argue, if you can't think of influencers or people that are creating, what is something that is said, repeated, it's doctrine, and nobody's questioned it, that you could question?
Do you have 4 things that you have a strong POV on? I think I've heard you talk about there's 2 that you're for and 2 that you're against.
Yeah, I like to take it a step further, because I think that a lot of people focus on what they are for. And I think it's equally as important to communicate what you are against, right? Yeah. And so, I have basically, let me see if I can remember them off the top of my head. The one about wanting to optimize around trust is a big one. Leading creatives, or I guess one that I'm against, is leading creatives with fear. I believe in creating an environment of psychological safety. I think that leads to the best work. Meaning, if you have a boss that's yelling at you at any time that you make a mistake, you are going to be afraid to make mistakes. And mistakes are where innovation occur. And so you ultimately end up removing any sort of innovation on your team. A couple other ones, I believe in giving way more value than you take from your audience. That's another one that I want to be known for. Another one that I want to be known against is pushing something, a product, out into the marketplace that you yourself would not purchase.
Yeah.
I think Chris Williamson actually used that as his definition of grifter. And I think it is the best definition possible. If you are selling something in the marketplace that you yourself would not buy, questionable. And so those are things that I want to be known for and known as being against. And I think it's really important because if you identify what you want to be known as being against, it can cause you to turn down collaboration opportunities with individuals that would hurt your brand, not help it.
Yeah.
Or better said, based on how we started this, individuals that would help you get closer to that desired outcome, not further, right? Like going on your show gets me closer, not further, right? Like it's not a bad association. But there are some podcasts out there that I do think would be a very bad pairing for me. And that decision framework is influenced by knowing what I want to be known for and what I want to be known as being against.
Because fundamentally brand and the way that you think about it is brand is literally association, right?
I believe that branding is the action that we take. And so branding is just a pairing of things. Good branding is when you make an intentional pairing of relevant things consistently. And then the byproduct of that, I believe, is brand. And I think that's when the audience inherently associates you with something else. Good brand is when it's the thing that you were pairing yourself with intentionally.
Yeah.
So like Nike and Michael Jordan, right? Like that was a pairing, a very intentional pairing of relevant things. Nike was entering the basketball market. Michael Jordan was the basketball god, right? And the key though is he didn't wear them one night. He didn't wear them 2 nights. He wore them every night for his career. That's the consistently part, which I'm sure we can get into in a little bit, but like, that's why you want to say the same things over and over, rather than that being the reason why people talk about not making content. That's what you should do. The next thing that we do is we go to content strategy. And so the very basic, if you want to start at like ground zero, figure out what medium, right? I believe there's 4.
Yeah.
Video, audio, written, photo, graphic, right? And everyone always asks, what one should I pick?
Yeah.
And the logical answer is video. But the more important answer is whatever one you're going to stick with.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you see this with clients. Like, you don't get shit for the first year from making content. Some do, but 99.99999% do not, right? They don't get anything for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
And I would argue the majority don't even get anything for the first 3 years. And I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think that if you're going to know that this is a 3-year sprint, you better pick something you're going to stick with. You know, the analogy that I give every single time is it's like if you're going to get into fitness, pick a workout routine or a nutrition program that you're going to actually follow, right? Doing some crazy, wild diet for 2 weeks ain't going to do anything for you. And so pick the one, and you've seen this, I know, like if you pick audio or you pick written or you pick photographic and you start putting shit out, you start to get to a point where you're like, okay, it's not that bad putting myself out there. Maybe I could do video.
Yeah. We pick one of those based on whatever just feels most natural to us. Like we feel excited or comfortable pulling out the iPhone or writing. Then how do you then pick a platform? Do you pick a platform then and then start ideating from there? Or
let's get crazy.
Yeah.
If you're a solo creator, you pick one platform as your primary and you pick a secondary. We'll go into that in a second. If you have a team, I expect far more of you.
Yeah.
Pick 3 primary platforms that you are creating for. And you can have secondary platforms, but I don't care about those nearly as much. And by the way, that is the starting point. Like, there's been teams that I've been a part of or helped build where it's like we have, 6 or 7 or 9 primary platforms, but that's because we have 18 fucking people working on it, And I don't want the person that has a content director to think that they need to be held to that standard. But for the solo creator, what I would recommend doing is there's 2 frameworks that I think you can use on to decide what platform to pick as a solo creator. The first one is, what is my medium that I'm most comfortable with? And what platform prefers that the most? So if you chose audio, I'm not going to tell you to pick Instagram as your primary platform, right? And I'm definitely not going to tell you Substack, right? And so you want to pick a platform that is applicable for the medium you chose. Now, if you chose video, lucky you. You get your pick of the litter, right? Whatever you want, you can pretty much create for. So the next one is, where does your ideal customer, if we're talking about people that are trying to build their personal brand to impact their business, where does your ideal customer spend the most amount of their time?
Yeah.
Now, the natural question I instantly get is, well, how do I figure that out? And my response that I always say is, it's the same way that I find a metal bar in any city that I'm in. I go up to somebody who looks like they listen to metal and I ask them. You just ask. And that's how you start to learn, right? Like I've never been a big Twitter guy or X guy, but I know that like there's a lot of industry or a lot of interesting industries and niches that are very active on X, way more than any of the other platforms. Meanwhile, the majority of the creators that are trying to reach those people are prioritizing YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Meanwhile, they'd get way more traction on X.
Yeah. Tech, startups, VCs.
Big time on the VC and tech startup. Yeah, huge on X, right? And that's just one example. And so that's how I like to go about picking it. The same framework applies to picking the 3 that you're going to prioritize. And then what I like to do is, if we're jumping over to the people with the team, there's 3 platforms, but if you don't have a team of 18 people, I think you have to pick one at a time that you focus on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think a lot of people hear all of these creators that have these big teams and have these really well-established brands, content systems, everything, talking about posting a shitload of content everywhere all at once. And I can't read anybody's mind, but I think the reason why they are saying that is because they know that 99% of people will take like 5% at most action on what they say. So it's like, let me give them the extreme and maybe they'll post once a week. That's why. But I don't think that's a good strategy of like trying to be everywhere at once. So what we do is, like, for me, I'll give my example. We picked YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn as our 3 that we were going to prioritize. Trevor and I sat down and we decided on that. And what Trevor and I decided on, because my background is in video, his background is mainly in video, we're going to prioritize YouTube first. I also believe that for my ideal customer, that is the best platform to build trust with them. And so we have decided to prioritize. I use the analogy because I like Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron method.
Yeah.
So our eye is on YouTube. Now around, I'd say May or June, we were like, okay, we feel like we've got a good system on this. So then we moved the eye over to Instagram. Beautiful thing about this approach, you'll get corrected very quickly if you moved too fast.
Yeah.
In, I think it was August, we went to film a video that I did not prepare for in nearly the level that I should have, or nearly the level that I do for every other video that we do. We put a lot of work into these videos. That's why we only do 1 a month.
Yeah.
And we sat down to film it. And 5 minutes into it, I was like, this is dog shit. This is not a good video. I did a horrible job preparing for this. I'm not respecting the audience's time. And so it was a moment where we kind of realized, hey, maybe more so on my end, maybe we don't have the system down as much as I thought we did on YouTube. So we're going to reorient and put a little bit more focus on that. The video that's going to come out at the end of September is going to be a fucking banger, a long banger, right?
Yeah.
Like a big one. And then the video that'll come out in October, we were spending all day in London yesterday filming. We haven't reviewed the footage, so we don't know if it's good yet, but we'll see. But like, we're putting more effort. We're putting the focus back there, right? When you shift the eye, it is my opinion that the other platforms go on what I just call maintenance mode. This doesn't mean that you're not posting or not caring. It means that you're not putting the attention or resources towards innovation, right? You're doing what you know works, nothing more. Because all of those resources towards innovation go towards that platform. I believe every single person, minus maybe like 5 people listening or watching, get more benefit out of that than omnipresence with mid content everywhere.
Quick one, if you're enjoying this episode and feel like you're getting value, I'd love it if you subscribed. It helps me improve the show and get bigger and better guests. So if you're enjoying this episode, make sure you're subscribed. And how do you convince someone that that's the right approach? Because I guess the fear is they see other people on all these different platforms. They're like, oh, so-and-so's killing it on LinkedIn and so-and-so's killing it on Instagram, and on YouTube, someone else is killing it. And they feel like there's so much opportunity everywhere. What's the reality of spreading yourself and trying to get the content to land on all 3 or 4 at the same time?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind when you asked that is I'm not in the business of convincing.
Mm-hmm.
You know this better than most.
Yeah.
If you bring on a client and you're having to convince them of that, they're going to be a nightmare client, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anybody consuming my content, it's like, cool, by all means, do it the other way, right?
Yeah.
So I just, honestly, I guess I just say, look at the track record, right? Because I think with a lot of creators that I've worked for or helped build, we did the same approach, just at a bigger scale.
Yeah.
But it's like, even the biggest dogs in the world do this. They don't necessarily, maybe they're not aware of it, right? They're not like keenly thinking about that or whatever, but like that's the actual process that they are following, right? Like all of these creators on the highest levels at different times have a platform that they prefer. Different seasons for every creator that we're all admiring right now. They have a season where they're texting or slacking their team about Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. Why is YouTube down? Right? Like they have a platform that they are focusing on. They say that they're doing, but they're not. I just think that a lot of people haven't reverse engineered that process, / a lot of people haven't been on those teams, and a lot of people on those teams don't share that stuff. But that's what I would encourage people to realize is like, they all did it brick by brick as well. We just see the fully built house.
Yeah. And I want to get into what it was like building those teams and how people can build those teams later on. Maybe the only thing that's worth touching on quickly is on those teams, when you see Hormozi and you see every channel seems to be flying, what's the scale there? Do you have specialists per platform?
Yeah, I believe the best version of this is you're making content contextual to the platform. And so again, even at the highest levels, you're going to pick your primary platforms and you're going to put your best creative resources to those platforms. I take it a step further. This is pretty unconventional. I actually like my creatives to also become my strategists. So I like the editor who's making Instagram content in the perfect world to run Instagram.
Yeah.
Like when Gary decided before everybody else that TikTok was going to be a big deal, and he was like, we're putting resources towards this. When I went from, because originally there was a team of 3 of us that were working on Gary's TikTok, and there was somebody else that was CMing, channel managing, and then I was editing, and Avatar was also editing. And then eventually that other individual started working on another project, and I took over CMing. I was cutting like 7 to 8 clips a day, like shorts a day, and posting 9 to 12 a day, right? Because there was another creator making more. And that was the biggest growth in my career because not only was I close to the data, I was accountable for it. Like we would post a clip, and back then it's not this way anymore, but back then on TikTok, you would know, I knew within 60 seconds if this was 1 million plus or less. I knew. And I felt it every time that it wasn't. I'm competitive too, so that played into it. But I like the creatives to be very close to that and to know, because then you start creating individuals that don't go, hey, the footage isn't working anymore. Our content doesn't work anymore. And you create people that go, hey, this format or this topic that we're talking about is no longer resonating with our audience. Here's 3 other ideas that I want to test out over the next month. And I prefer the latter over the former all day.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I was listening to Founders, the episode about Elon Musk. It's an incredible podcast, incredible episode. And that's what he does on the factory floor at Tesla is he gets the designers and the engineers to like sit, within like shouting distance of each other so that the engineer can tell the designer that his design is crap.
Wow.
I think it's very much the same there is that if you can combine the 2 roles, it's just one person, then there is no like someone editing it, someone posting it. It's that single responsibility. And again, they're just like so much closer to the data and the outcome. And when you post and it flops, you feel that viscerally. And so if you're a social media manager and then you then pass your feedback to the editor and you're relying on the editor to implement it and have that same feel for what's popping, I think it's really tough. So yeah, 100% agree. If you can combine that role, I think I've seen the same. Like you'll have a lot more success. It's hard though.
It is, but it also the other really cool benefit that I feel like I probably haven't talked about it enough when I share this is you invest heavily in that creative. You make them a fucking weapon, right? Now the vulnerability is then they're a weapon that could get pulled onto another team or go off and do their own thing. I think that's the best thing in the world, right? Like Trevor is leaps and bounds further than he was when he was just editing. The moment that he started running TikTok, running Instagram, not for me, but in previous roles, like he learned an insane amount and grew so much from that. And now when you have a conversation with him about content, he almost never talks about the edit.
Yeah.
And that is a very interesting thing as an editor, right? Like he's talking about the concept, the hook, the packaging. How do you end it? Like all of these things. And I think that you start to create these like gangster ninjas. And if you are a great operator and you have a great opportunity, then you can continue to build something that excites them to be there. And so there's just more firepower on your team. I think it's a really huge benefit.
Let's go on to, is it creation that can start now? So we've chosen our platform.
Yeah.
How did you think about creating content when you started?
I would say this is a moment where people should do what I say, not what I did.
Okay.
Here's why. Come October 2025, that will mark 17 years of doing this. Like, that is a long time considering my age and considering the age of like internet content, right? Like YouTube's 20, like it's not that far off. And so in addition to that, due to the amazing entrepreneurs that I've worked for, I have spoken to a lot of early stage entrepreneurs. So I'm keenly aware of the problems that my ideal customer is facing. For a lot of people, they might know just a few. Most people think they know the problems, but they're not actually solving problems that your ideal customer cares about.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm getting at is, in my opinion, rather than going to a hit list of viral content or looking at what all of your competitors have done and remaking their videos, I would go to the core and solve very narrow, painful problems for my ideal customer, which then reveals a bigger problem that a lead magnet that I have, for example, solves and then reveals the bigger problem that my offer solves. And as simple as that sounds, if you do that over and over and over, you're not going to be, getting millions of views. You're not going to be the most followed creator, but I guarantee you will be making far more money in your business than the majority of people that are getting those crazy views, that do have those massive followings. Because what they are, and by the way, not all of them. I'm making a blanket statement here that applies zero nuance, which I hate. But here I go. Those creators, they're optimizing around views, which means that they're not doing the things necessary intentionally to create trust. Some of them, as an accidental byproduct of what they're doing, are creating trust. Amazing. Mazel tov. But for most of them, they're not. They're just gaining attention, but there's not enough trust, to the point that I made earlier that like you couldn't name them. There's like 15 creators' faces that I'm seeing right now that I consume all the time on my feed, but I could not tell you who they are or what they do.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, that's why I like doing that and optimizing around trust.
When we're starting to create content, how should we think about that? That's making a list. That's making a list of all of the problems of my ideal customer and then starting to make videos around them. Yeah.
And the cool thing is as long as you stay in the game, you'll always be presented usually the same problems, but in different scenarios. Like I guarantee you right now in your head, you're thinking, with all my podcast clients, actually, yeah, it is like the same 5 problems. It takes place in different ways. Yeah. But that's 5 different reoccurring pieces of content. And then every different version of it, the story, insecurity being the core. This person was insecure about, how they sounded. This person was insecure about what they had to say, how they look, blah, blah, blah. Those are all different stories that you can tell and ways that you can wear the Nikes every night, right? The way that you can consistently pair yourself with an idea over and over again in order for the audience to inherently associate you with that idea.
Yeah.
Right? So like optimizing around trust. I'm just going to hammer this until I die, right? Well, unless I get new information that says that there's something better out there than trust. But I'm just going to tell that in a million different ways. And as long as I choose to stay in the game, I am going to be presented with many different versions of the same problems that I can help my audience solve.
And so when you get down to actually filming that and posting that, how do you optimize that to land well? Do you advise people to think about hooks or titles or thumbnails, all of those kind of things when we're starting out, or is it just like record and post?
Whatever is going to get you into the habit first is what I would say. My fear in answering this with like my ideal answer is that is a high barrier to entry, and so most people won't enter. So just make. If you want to go a step further, I believe that if you're trying to optimize around trust, what you're trying to optimize around is giving people the actions necessary to get the outcome that you're promising in your content. And so every single thing that you do, the way you orient your hook, the way that you structure the video, the examples you use, and in post-production, the graphics that you do or do not use, should all be answered by one question. Does this make it easier for the viewer to change what they do or take action after consuming this? That's it. Because if you're an educational creator trying to grow your business, you want to build trust. And the way you build trust is by telling people what to do, they do it, and they get their outcome. An example I like to use is I have a truck that I love.
Yeah.
It's a push start. Every morning when I go out, I put my foot on the brake and I hit that button and it starts.
Yeah.
I trust it. But if suddenly I go out there and 3 mornings in a row, it doesn't start, I suddenly have less trust.
Yeah.
Very basic example. Same thing applies to content.
There's almost this trust bar that we want to fill, where every time Caleb tells me something or I see one of his clips, I learn something and I implement it and it works.
And the goal is, if you do that over and over again, when you suddenly make your audience aware of an offer, they believe, oh, well, everything that Caleb's told me to do worked, so why would I not do this? I get more in return than what I invested with him. Why would it be any different now that he's charging me? If anything, it's going to be even better.
Yeah.
That is the psychology or the thinking that you want to build in your audience. And the way you do that is just make it easy for them to take action, which is why I like telling stories, because I do think that stories allow people to see something in a real life example. Ideally, they can relate to it, and suddenly they can see themselves doing that thing.
Yeah.
Again, another way, another tactic to get them to take action. It's why with the 6-hour plus course that we put out, we made a workbook to go with it. Like, people that don't know me won't believe this, but I mean it fully. The goal was not like some crazy amount of email capture. I've gone on podcasts and told people how many emails we've gotten, blah, blah, blah. The goal was just to make it easier for the people that actually watch it to do the things necessary to build their personal brand. Genuinely. For years, I've had people DM me asking, do you have any resources, blah, blah, and the answer's always been no. This was like, okay, this is the starting point to be able to have an answer to that question. Now, the beautiful byproduct of doing that and actually having the intention of serving your audience, not capturing emails, is we captured a lot of emails. We got like 29,000 people on our email list.
Wow.
We haven't promoted it anywhere other than that video.
Wow.
The only way you get on right now is you watch that video, click the link in the bio or in the description, and then you enter your email and we email the workbook to you. That's it. And we got like 29,000 people off of that.
That's
it's
crazy.
Fucking nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that was never the goal.
Hey, I'm going to break down all of Caleb's strategies and frameworks for brand building in my next newsletter. You can get a copy at the link in the description. So if you want to implement Caleb's approach, then check it out at the link in the description. But you posted a 6-hour video, which is basically like a course, right? You posted this to YouTube, which is how to build a brand.
I'm getting smarter. And so I realized that how to build a brand was too general, and 99% of it was like personal brand. Yeah. So it recently has been updated to how to build a personal brand. But yeah, and like Trevor and I joke about this all the time. I think I told him maybe 1,000, maybe 5,000. I can't remember which one it is. I kind of blend the two together. But like either 1,000 or 5,000 views was my goal in the first year. I was like, man, if like 1 or 2 people apply to work with us, that'd be fucking awesome. But my goal was for those 1,000 or 5,000 people to watch it and be like, holy shit, I've never paid for anything that this was this in depth.
Yeah.
That made it this easy for me to build a personal brand, let alone the fact that it's free.
It seems that one of the big things here is giving and expecting nothing in return. How do you think like that? Because I imagine a lot of people out there are thinking, okay, yeah, I want to build a personal brand. I want to make content. And then after 2 weeks, they're like, damn, I'm paying an editor. I'm paying a social media manager. When am I going to see some return? And I guess that then starts to seep into the content, and it's like, buy. That's the temptation, right? It's just start selling stuff or just be needy in what you're creating. How do you think about that?
I think people got bills to pay. So I'll never fault somebody for needing to cover their family, their payroll, whatever. That makes sense. But life is a sequence or series of trade-offs. And if you're in that position, then you must know that you're making a big trade. Yeah. I recommend to people that you be in a position, if you can, to not ask your audience for anything for like a year, 2 years, maybe even 3.
Wow.
Think about it this way. If you have a core established group of friends, and then some new lady or guy joins, and within a week of getting to know them, they're like, hey, can you come help me change my oil on my car? And hey, do you think you could go pick up my mom from the airport? She's flying in. Like, they just start asking you for all these things. Yeah. Hey, could you loan me like, $200 or something? I got this bill. I get paid next week. I'll pay you back. That's absurd. Yet we do that with our audience all the time.
Wow.
I think if people started thinking about developing an audience online, like building relationships, I think you would approach it wildly differently. You don't just go for big asks with people that you just met, well, at least I don't, I should say. I don't want to speak for everyone listening or watching, but I don't do that. I like to give. And then if something comes back, amazing. Now, the next natural question that some people might have, and you might be wanting to ask, is like, well, if I'm not naturally that way, how do I become that way? I don't know. I am naturally that way. I always have been, and I've never spent the time trying to figure out how somebody could change on that. So if you are a transaction-oriented person and you only think transactionally, I think the world's about to get a lot tougher. Because I think that the transactional relationship, like AI has got all that shit covered. I think, not to jump topics real quick, but like, I think you being the most human version of yourself is the most important part in this time. And so, yeah, I think that's how you stand out.
One of the other things that people get hung up on, I'm sure, is quality, like setting the bar on what they put out. How do you think about that?
I'm the best person to talk about it, and the worst person doing it. Meaning, we have created this crazy high bar for ourselves in quality that we now subjectively hold ourselves to. Everything I just said was useless without this breakdown. I believe that quality is not determined by the creator, but by the consumer. The audience determines what quality is, not us. Yet we'll sit around all the time and say, this was such a high quality video. 213 views later, I don't know if that's true, right? The audience determines that. And so I believe that as a creator, you understand what your audience deems as quality by quantity. You put out more to get the information from your audience on what they're fucking with, and then you do more of that. Whenever somebody starts jumping into the like quality conversation, my alarm goes off immediately. I believe that if anything, we are doing a really good job of solving this problem. That's about as far as I go. I also will say things like, for example, if we do a high quantity of content and we put out a lot and we're getting this information, some people would say, okay, cool. Now we can make quality content. What I would articulate is now we can put more effort into the content that our audience has signaled to us that they want more of and find out if they call that quality. Because ultimately, I mean, like, I think maybe, Jimmy, Mr. Beast, knows what his quality is. Yeah. But for every one of him, there's like millions that don't. Like he is a very, very select few. But the majority of creators, I don't think actually know. And I'm sure you see this with clients. Like there's people that will make a YouTube video that have millions of subscribers on YouTube. And they'll be like, that was a banger. Biggest flop of the fucking quarter. Yeah. Right? Because we don't know.
One thing in your content that is really good though is the quality of the execution is really high. And I can see how when we're thinking around brand, that's important, right? Because I'm assuming that Caleb has a premium offering. He works with kind of premium people, and he's got a high bar in terms of certainly the visual output of what you create and your brand. It all looks really coherent and nice, and it feels good.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. Thank you. We try really hard.
So there are maybe subtle things like that are like, if there are kind of messages you're trying to position yourself a little bit, are they important?
This is where I did not eat my own dog food. I actually don't think it matters that much.
Okay.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think this was a moment where I let my subjective view of what I assumed the audience expected of me because of the caliber of people that I've worked for and what we've done on that scale. And by the way, never prioritizing production value over anything in those roles by any means. But I felt like in entering this new phase where I'm making content, I created this subjective prison, if you will, that I have to make stuff that is higher quality than maybe what I have done previously or other people in the space. And I like it. I have that preference. And so what Trevor and I talk about is like, I'm always optimizing for longevity, back to what we were talking about earlier. And so I'm going to stick with it longer if I'm proud of it. I'm not going to be proud of putting out a 1080p, one camera angle shit video that the lighting's kind of dog shit on, right? I think most people don't have 16 years of being in production. So that is not a handicap that they have to overcome. So I would argue we could probably have similar success if we did things a little bit more scrappy, more handheld, vlogging in the moment action. I think we could. I just have a preference. And again, like more than getting it exactly how I think is best, I'm going to do it in a way that I'm going to stick with the longest. Right? Like here's another example. All my YouTube buddies were like, why put out a 6 hour and 22 minute video? Why not like 12 to 13 videos? That would have been better.
Yeah.
And arguably, this is where I'll add a little bit more nuance to why I did it. You could argue it would actually be easier to consume and take action on. The bigger reason behind the course was not only to help people, but also a brand positioning tool. Show me somebody else that's going to sit there for 6 hours and 22 minutes and talk about personal brand, right? Like immediate differentiator. And I don't say that to like, that sounded like braggadocious. I don't mean it that way. I mean like anybody can do that. Like if you got it like that, fucking put that out there. That immediately separates you from the pack.
Yeah. And it's like writing a book. If I've heard someone's an author, if my accountant is an author, I'm not reading the book, but I just assume they're better than the other people. They must know their stuff.
1,000,000%. Could not agree more. Could not. Yeah. Side note, author is a wildly underrated, I believe, brand positioning tool.
Yeah. 100%.
For personal brands. Yeah.
The one thing I am hung up on here is how do you balance what all the gurus say, which is look in your niche, look at the top 5 videos, look for the outliers, look for the things that outperformed.
Yeah.
How do I marry up all that advice and industry advice and best practice with originality and delivering on solving problems for my ideal customer?
So we're serving 2 different goals here. I'm not the guy to talk to if your goal is to get a lot of views. I'm not that guy. And so my approach is slow and steady.
Yeah.
So it's not a game of like it's a game of which one can you stomach more, right? But here's what I will tell you, and it's a little preview for those of you that are currently on the first journey.
Yeah.
You optimize around views, you get that validation and that dopamine, and you think that you're operating off of signal. You're operating off of noise.
Yeah.
Unless your business model is just the content that you are creating, even then maybe. But most of you listening or watching, I'm assuming, your only business model is not monetizing the content directly. And if it is, build something in addition to that. It's a very tough, I mean, it depends on your goals. Again, nuance. I've had a lot of conversations with founders that are 2 years in that were optimizing around the views and the subscribers. And when I ask them, how's it going? Some of them will say like, not that great or whatever. Most of them will give a very painful response. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awful, right? You think that you have all this signal because the platform is telling you what you're making is good. And so you keep doing more of that.
Yeah.
But if you're a business owner and your goal here is to build your business, not your celebrity, your vanity metrics, well, then why are you tracking those and optimizing around that? Why aren't we optimizing around the business and the outcomes and goals around the business, right? And so a great example of this, actually, I'm so grateful that we have this on my channel. I'm going to compare 2 videos that we did. First video it's called something like, if you struggle with making content, please watch this. It's like 12 minutes long. It's me over the course of a motorcycle trip talking about the mindset shifts that I had to make in going from being the guy behind the camera to being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So that video went out. That has, I think, like 95,000 views right now, which, for a lot of people, that's nothing. For some people, that's an insane amount. For us, it's our second most viewed video. Amazing. We then put out another video the next month on how to lead a media team.
Yes.
Not how to build one, but how to lead one that already exists.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, thank you. That has less than 12,000 views. It's our lowest performing video and probably will be one of our lowest performing of all time. And if we just looked at that, we would stop making that video and we would just only make the first video, right? But here's where it gets interesting. No clients reached out from the struggling with content video.
Yeah.
None. Some of them would mention like how cool or whatever, like it was cinema, but none showed interest. The clients that we work with, their brand and creative directors all reached out. And a lot of personal brands that we aspire to work with, their teams reached out and asked a lot more questions.
Yeah.
And most of them shared like pages of notes that they took from it.
Wow.
Wildly different. If we listen to what YouTube is telling us, and by like the YouTube data is telling us, we would stop doing that and make the other. And we'd be burning my business to the ground because of it.
Yeah.
This is what so many people that are listening and watching are doing right now. They're spending either a lot for them or a lot just in general on a content team. They're putting time in their precious week that could be used for building the business to make this content. And it's content that is bringing in audience that will never fucking buy from you. What a waste.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. So, listen to the gurus all you want. You're going to get results.
Yeah.
They're not wrong. By the way, everyone talking about they're not wrong. They're really fucking good at it. I just don't think that that is the thing to optimize around. Now, the 2.0 of this conversation that I never really share is like, cool, optimize around trust, then gain all the tactics from those viral gurus or whatever, take the things that apply to what you're making, and then get more awareness around the problems that you solve. But that's why I like to, wow, I just spat a lot. That's why I like to optimize around trust, not views.
Yeah. I'm excited to share that this podcast is produced by my own content agency, 7X Content. We make incredible podcasts for world-class brands, creators, and entrepreneurs. And we've just released our flagship accelerator program where we coach podcasters on how they can unlock the next level of success for their shows. So if you'd like to work with us, you can apply at the link in the description. So what should we be tracking every week? I'm super interested in that. And then how do we judge the success of our content?
Track conversions. Now, how you do this, I'm not the guy. Like that's talk to a hardcore marketing individual. They're far more in depth and aware of the current way of doing this. But what I recommend is track conversions. Now, for some of you, you have like a full team and like a genius marketer that the moment you say that, oh yeah, boom, done. UTM links in place. We got all this shit in HubSpot or whatever the fuck you use. We can track the customer journey from YouTube video to purchase. Amazing. Most of us, myself included right now, do not have that system in place, right? And so you can get very, very basic with it. If you have some sort of application that people submit to work with you, ask them how they found out about you, right? A question that I usually like to ask on a discovery call with somebody is not, how did you hear about me? Because that's a little bit more basic. And I don't really care about that as much as I care about what was the piece of content that you watched that made you feel enough trust to want to work with us? That, like, what convinced you?
Yeah.
What was I think it's Malcolm Gladwell's term, like what was the tipping point for you, right? That's what I'm looking for. And so like, that is a very basic way to do it, but it's the way that I'm doing it right now. You can set up all these different custom URLs, yourwebsite.com/YouTube or whatever, and that can be your link in bio. Like there's other ways that you can do it. If you are in a place right now where you don't have an offer for the masses, a great way to see if you have a audience or you're growing an audience that will actually take action on what you say is have a lead magnet, right? And then track the conversions on the lead magnet. What percentage of the audience that's consuming the content is then going and taking action to download something, right? Because if that behavior is there, well, then in the future, you can assume, not at the same rate, but at a similar rate, you're probably going to have success with an offer that you make people aware of.
Let's say you're running a team or you're involved with a team. Yeah. Do you have a weekly call and you're looking at the content performance? What do you recommend people track in terms of views, ABD? How do they find out what's working and make more of it?
If you're tracking stuff that isn't informing any sort of change, that is noise. And we've all looked at those dashboards with like 130 different metrics being tracked. And guess what we do? We get overwhelmed. Some people are data nerds and they love that shit. Not me. Like I can't make a decision off of that. I need to see just a very few basic metrics. And this is where, like, again, nuance. I like to do that. And then anything that interests me, then I'll go more specific on it, right? Then I will start to look under the hood, so to speak, to use a US term here. Like, that's what I really like to do. And so I would encourage people to figure out what those things are for you, right? Like, I care deeply about average view duration on YouTube. I mean, what a novel thing for me to say, right? Like what everybody says. But I care about it honestly more than for like the performance of the YouTube video. I just want every person that decides to watch the content, like every minute in our content is there for a reason. I want you to get the outcome. And so I want you to be there longer. And so that's something that we want to track and see going up over time, right? I also believe that the more time that you spend with me, the more you're going to trust me. That might be an audacious assumption of mine. I don't know. But I tend to think that we are very ruthless with what we decide to put out there. In August, we put out a 2-minute video where I apologized for that shit video that I was talking about that we didn't end up releasing. And I was like, we should just respect the audience's time. We should aim for a high value per minute, right? So that's what I would encourage you to do. The way I like to do it on a team meeting is if it's a smaller team and we don't have like a bunch of platform specific creators that are owning the individual platforms, we're still in the mode where we have a couple people creating for everything, then I'll do like one weekly meeting where we're reviewing those metrics. And then here's the key. 100%, basically, minus a few, are not doing this. What are you going to do because of that? Most teams just look at the data and they're like, all right, cool. We're up this week. Oh, we're down this week. All right, we got to do better, guys. That's not useful, right? So we need to figure out, okay, based on this information, what are we going to do differently? And I would argue that's the most important part of the meeting. And some people are going to hear this and they'll put the last 5 minutes of their meeting to be like, all right, we're going to give ownership to people. This should be like half the fucking meeting. And like, it doesn't need to be reserved for when shit is not going well. When everything's up, what are we going to do more of? Right? What are we going to put more effort into, more resources towards? That's how I like to run it. If you have a really big team and then you have like, you know, a YouTube function over here, Instagram, TikTok, podcast, all of that, then cool. I do a top level review for like 30 minutes with the whole team because I do like everyone to have context. It's really nice when the Instagram creator knows that like YouTube is doing well or not doing well. I think it's really important. I think it's good. But anything granular, not necessary. So then I like to break it out into the core functions. So like the Instagram team will meet and they will go wildly deep. And I encourage this to be like a 30, 60 minute meeting. And I know that's expensive. It's a very expensive meeting, but this is a very expensive investment you're making, right? Like let's be thoughtful with it. So that's how I like to run those. From there, you can add brainstorm meetings and all of that, but you want to be very careful that you don't add too many meetings. A mistake that I made earlier on in running, this was a big mistake. I started adding way too many meetings throughout the week. And in the beginning, I didn't stack them all on like 1 or 2 days. And so my poor editors would have like a meeting on Thursday at 11 a.m., Wednesday at 3 p.m., like all throughout the day. And it would break everything up for them. And it was like this weird moment where I just like completely lost touch with like the first 13, 14 years of my career where I was an editor. I hated meetings, right? They were awful. They took me off my game. So that would be one thing that I would add here is I know I just said for the bigger teams, have a full team and then breakout, but be careful that you don't add too many because you will slow down the momentum and end up discouraging your team.
What are the other fundamental things in the process that people should have?
Which process?
The content creation and review and continuous improvement.
I'll give you one that's really wild. If you're the talent, get to a place as quick as possible where you're not reviewing the content.
How'd you do that?
Well, one, it's an insane level of trust that you have to have, which means you have to have somebody on your team that you really trust. I'll give you insight. We're not at that point yet. And it's not due to me not trusting Trevor. It's me having been behind the scenes for 16 years and knowing all the tiny little things that could go wrong. And so I'm at a place where I don't trust myself enough yet. But that is what we are aiming for massively. What I will say is in my previous role, he was leading the shorts initiative and I got to a point where I didn't review any of the shorts. The talent that we were working for didn't review the shorts and I didn't either. I only reviewed long form content. And that was it. And the efficiencies gained by that were massive because every single, and I know it's not a lot of people, but every single person listening right now that runs a creative team, you are the bottleneck. And that is the worst thing in the world. If your team is like, I can't do blank because so-and-so hasn't reviewed it yet, whoa, big problem, right? And so I try to remove that as much as possible. AKA you as the talent should not be the friction point.
And is the key there to hire one person to build out your content team?
I am so grateful you went here. A lot of you won't be able to do what I'm about to say. I'm going to give you the best version and then we can go back to more practicality. The best version is you do what I did and you hire the content director first that you believe in fully, trust fully, and want to build out your content team. Mm-hmm. That is Trevor for me. Mm-hmm. Like I trust that man with everything. And I feel very confident in his abilities, and the rate of progress that he is making in his career is like insane. And so I knew from day one, well, actually more like month 2, because in full transparency, day 1, I was like, Trevor, we're going to try this out and see if I'm comfortable with making content, right? So that's the real. About like month 2 or month 3, then I was like, cool. I don't think we're just going to make little videos, you and I think we're going to build out a team. And every month that we make more content, that vision starts to grow more and more. And I can see, more for that. But I won't be building the media team. He will, right? And that's what every single person who is embarking on this journey, the best version of this is you hire somebody that can build it for you. You don't have to get in and learn all the technical terms and blah, 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 blah. You don't have to be up to date with everything all the time. They do. She does. He does, right? And that's what you want to hire first. I believe in it the most. And I'll put my money where my mouth is. He was my first hire. The first month of me having my business, he joined the team. That was my first investment, not anything else. That is how important I think this is. The majority of people, this is where we're going now, is the more practical, but the unfortunate version is most of you are building out functions in silos.
Yeah.
So what you do is you hire some YouTube characters over here, some short form characters here, podcast person here, maybe a freelance copywriter. None of them are coordinated together. And it's just this wonderful shit show. And I mean, at the highest levels of creators right now, this is happening. Yeah. This is what we get hired to help with. And they have this wild thing that somehow they've gotten to millions of followers online. And it's just like chaos behind the scenes. And so the best version is you hire that person and they build it out. But then if you can't do that, then as quickly as possible, you want to hire that person to come in and clean up the mess. Because if you do this for 5 years, like some of the people, it is a very, very gnarly mess to untangle. Very, very difficult, right? And then, to get granular for a second, there's this like weird resentment that grows on the team because they're not being taken into account or blah, 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 blah. They don't have one person that is advocating for them, right? They don't have somebody who is on their behalf building an environment that allows them to do their best work. They're having to create that environment while also doing their best work. They're serving 2 functions, and 99.9% of them are not good at that first one.
Let's talk about working with Alex and Layla Hormozi.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest lessons you learned working with them?
I'll start with Layla. There's a lot of really great things I learned from her. I think my favorite one that I always share is her level of preparation for new employees. I think because I've been in several different types of organizations, I can speak to this pretty confidently. Most orgs do not have clear expectations set for new employees. And your new employee then exists in this world of anxiety for 2 to 4 weeks. They don't know what is expected of them. I mean, hell, I've had 2 different roles that I started in the past where I didn't even have like a company computer or accounts for the first 2 weeks. I'm like sitting there twiddling my thumbs being like, what the fuck do I do? And something that she said that I will never forget is your biggest goal when hiring somebody is not to motivate them. It's actually to get the fuck out of the way and not demotivate them. You need to steamroll everything around them and clear the way for them to do their thing. Like, we just brought on an amazing chief of staff, Kate. She's awesome. And my whole thing has been like, let me get out of your way and not slow you down. I don't need to motivate you. You're coming in motivated, right? Like, if you're hiring correctly, they're coming in motivated. Your job is to not slow them down, not to be their bottleneck. I think that is probably the biggest one. Like when I'd say 2 weeks before I even started, I knew what my first 90 days were going to look like. That's insane, right? Because then you get to start planning, you hit the ground running, you're not slowed down in any way. On Alex's front, the level of effort to make something great, again, I will say the same thing every time because I'll never be able to unsee it. The 19 versions of leads. It was insane. He wrote it 19 different times that I'm aware of. It might be more. But that was nuts to see. And it's no surprise that it's a product that then sells itself. Rather than building something meh and then marketing the hell out of it, put all the effort into the actual product and the product will market itself. And so I'm not anywhere near that right now, but when we're making a video and we're outlining, I'm really thinking about that. How can I push the envelope on where would other people stop? And I guess to sound corny, that's when I want to start,
What's up, guys? I have a lot of fun making this podcast and I'd love to hear from you. So if there's something you're particularly enjoying or someone you'd love to hear from, then let me know in the comments. And equally, if there's anything you don't like that we're doing, let me know in the comments and we will make this show bigger and better for you. With Alex and Layla, how often is someone like that sitting down and filming and looking at content, and how involved are they?
I can't speak to right now because I'm not working with them, but at the time, I'd say Layla ebbed and flowed because she was running the business, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's an interesting thing on the behind the scenes that I give a lot of credit to the team for, is being able to balance 1 month having a little bit more time and access, and then another month where it's like, hey, we got bigger priorities right now on the business. And that's where the time is being allocated. So I would say that one, the constant was reverse engineering her schedule. And that was the framework, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to create an environment in that way. With Alex, he would spend a lot of time writing. Not a lot of time, I shouldn't say that, but a lot more time than I probably think a lot of people assume. Mm-hmm. And then they go off to make content, maybe prep for 20 minutes and think they're going to get the same results. But there's a lot more prep that goes into it. And actually something literally that's coming to me right now is I actually think individuals who write and who are authors and are constantly either writing a book, working on the next book, or writing a presentation, they get very good at being able to crystallize ideas and thoughts. And so they are capable of forming those into a video outline, for example, fairly quickly. Because what people might think is there's an hour slot on the calendar to prep this concept. But what they don't realize is the years of refining that concept and honing that in. As far as how we would film, typically every 2 weeks for either a half day or a full day. And typically a full day was 10 hours.
Okay.
And yeah. And, if you can take any cues from the way that Alex writes, he also can film that way. Mm-hmm. Incredible stamina is how I will put it.
What's the longest you ever filmed for?
I don't know, probably a 12-hour session. 12-hour session with very minimal breaks though. 12 hours that look fundamentally different than most people's 12-hour filming session. And walking away with a shitload of long form, short form, and podcast-centric content.
And then with that content, is he writing it? Is he coming up with the ideas? Or are you guys coming up with them and presenting them to him? How does that work?
Yeah. Again, I don't know how they're doing it right now, but basically our team would create more of a structured framework. Mm-hmm. The best content, and trust me, we're trying to solve this. I'm constantly thinking about this. But I think there's this level of desire that people have, and kind of not your intention, but a lot of people's intention behind the question is how much can I have my team write the content for me? Mm-hmm. And the best content from the best creators is written by them. Mm-hmm. Because if your team could articulate the same thoughts and concepts in the way that you could, they'd be just as big and successful as you. So why would you outsource? It's the same problem I have right now with everybody having ChatGPT write all their content. Like, why are we outsourcing our thinking, right? And so I think a very useful thing that I like to do for anybody that we work with is like, let's get them to third base with the structure and the format, but then let's let them input their thoughts and beliefs. Because the other thing, I'm sure you've experienced this for yourself. Over time in creating content, your ideas and concepts evolve. It's not that they necessarily change, although that happens too, and that's perfectly fine. But a lot of times we get better at communicating them in a slightly different way. But your team can't know that. They can only create based on things that have been said previously, which is a great, first step. And if that's all you can do right now with your team, cool, by all means do it. But the best version of this is going to be you putting your thoughts to paper.
So is the best version of that me saying, hey team, I want to do these 5 YouTube videos on these topics?
The best version of it is you don't have to push, you're pulled. So you have a team who reaches out to you and says, hey, Callum, can you send us a voice note, or however you like to communicate? I don't like writing nearly as much, so I like voice notes more. What's top of mind? What's been interesting in the last week or two? What have you noticed in the space? What have been interesting conversations with employees, with contractors, with clients? Any new learnings, any new thoughts? They're getting that from you on a bi-weekly or weekly basis.
Yeah, nice.
And then they're taking that and creating a structure around it, coming up with the packaging to be able to indicate like, hey, this is going to perform well, ideally data-backed packaging. And real quick, just so nobody thinks I'm contradicting, look at ideas outside of your niche. Stop just taking the bigger creator in your space and fucking doing what they do. You'll never be number one that way. In my opinion, you will always at most be number 2. So and the other benefit to doing the top of mind thing that, again, I'm all about longevity, you're going to be more excited about it. I don't know how you guys work on like with clients and stuff like that, but I know I've drafted outlines for videos for people. And a month later, we go to film it and they're no longer excited about it. They could give 2 shits about that topic. They've already moved on to something else. The best version of content, in my opinion, is going to be whatever you're most excited about and is top of mind in that moment. But you're only going to, or your team is only going to know that if they're pulling that information from you. And so like anybody who has a team that is listening or watching, tell your team to every week pull that information from you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for, you're in it. So if you're on YouTube and you see something and you're like, yo, team, yeah, by all means, share that. Like, I always want that information. I always want those opinions. But I don't want to build a system where the talent who is most likely running a business has to be that person. I think it's on the team in an ideal scenario to be presenting, hey, we just noticed this new emerging format in this niche. We really want to experiment with it. Here's 3 different videos to show you previous success from other creators. Are you down to try this? And then you put the ball in their court to decide. It shouldn't be on them in an ideal world to be the one being like, hey, team, I have this idea, right? It should be in reverse. Unfortunately, the majority of you watching or listening, it is not that way. You are the one that is pushing. Now, nuance. Gary, for example, is the one that pushes. Like, I think he is the only role that I've been in where we were not pushing the innovation in any way. Like, it was in any way. The team was pushing innovation, but Gary is like on another level with that shit. And so like, we weren't like, hey, G, TikTok might be a thing. Hey, G, LinkedIn, like he's the one driving that. He was the one, like, again, it gets misunderstood sometimes, like, guy running Gary's TikTok or whatever. To be very clear, Gary one day was sitting in his office, walked out of his office, opened the door and said, team, we are prioritizing TikTok. I don't care what we have to do. This is number 1 priority right now. This is going to be the biggest thing. And this was like 2018, 2019, like crazy shit, right? So there's unique characters like that. I think in Trevor and I's dynamic, I would say Trevor brings more ideas to me, but I am going to bring ideas to him because I'm in this world, right? I can't escape it. It's literally what my brain does 24/7. But for most people, they don't have a background in content. They're running a, plumbing business or they have a marketing agency or a podcast agency. And the best use of their time is focusing on the clients. And so they need a team that can get them, again, to use that analogy, to third base. So then they can round it home.
Yeah. But equally, one thing I found works really nicely is that, as you say, if they've got that communication channel, whether it's WhatsApp or Slack, and then they've just had the client call and they can just voice note or they can video and be like, I come up with this every damn day. All these people have this exact same problem, or there's this one thing I just realized. And if they can give it you in the moment, and you've got like an easy channel where they can just dump these things, as you say, like that's the way to capture it, because otherwise they probably just forget, or it just becomes normal to them. One of the things I've heard you talk about,
dude, real quick, yes, that is a huge one. If you are an expert, you are cursed. Meaning you think everything that you're sharing is boring, because it is to you.
Yeah.
So on that point too, the importance of having a team is like, Trevor will tell me when I say something that I'm like, yeah, but he's like, I've never heard you say that. That was really good. That was really interesting. That was extremely useful. So you said that and it like triggered something. I just had to share that. Like, that is another value that you get off of having the team.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about document, don't create.
I was just,
And how Layla looked at that actually by looking back at her calendar, right?
Yeah.
Is that another good tactic?
Yeah, it's just another interpretation of GaryVee's document, don't create. It doesn't necessarily mean having a videographer follow you around. It means articulating the lessons and challenges that you have gone through in the last week, month, year.
So how would you do that with her?
Well, she did it, not us. Yeah, she would just look at the conversations that she had throughout the week. What was interesting? What were interesting employee development conversations, tough conversations, something with one of the portfolio companies, or a new learning in the workshops or whatever, right? And she would look at what happened, and then we would document it. It didn't mean real-time documentation though. It can be post-game documentation. The best version is both.
That's interesting. The best version is both.
Yeah, because the thing that we're falling into right now, I'm glad you double clicked on that. The thing that we're falling into right now is I have less and less trust in just the average person making claims online than ever before.
Yes.
Meaning just telling won't, you know what I mean? Like, you got to show, don't tell. And so I think that is also, again, like, this whole like creating content online thing is very new, right? Like, the thing that I always like to say is like, back to YouTube being 20, it can't drink in the US. Like, it is brand new. And Gary has been doing this for a very long time. And I think that it's very interesting that he has been showing you what, like, he holds a different brand position than a lot of people in his space. A lot of people in his space have been blowing up over the last, call it 7 years, right? There's been a lot of different characters that have come onto the space and done really well. But the majority of them have been doing more telling, not showing.
Yeah.
And I think that shows up when Gary goes in public, for example. We had the opportunity, he brought back all the OG videographers back in May to document this big collab he had for VFriends. And I think the thing that just to this day is always so wild to me is walking through an airport. First of all, the fact that, walking through an airport with Gary is wild, but how many people will, one, come up and say, hi, thank you. But even more than that, for whatever reason, I pick up all the little things. I hear so many people be like, oh my God, that's Gary. I don't want to bother him. Like, he looks like he's on a call or whatever. Like, so many people. And I think it's back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's not just that people consume his content, they know his brand on a level of depth that, and maybe people in the last couple of years that are more familiar with him don't have this as much as the more OG fans that were watching GaryVee, right? And all of that. But yeah, I think there is, the ideal version is when you are telling, you're able to show an example.
How are you going to do that with yours? Are you going to do vlogs? Are you going to do, what are you going to do?
Yes, we're going to, I don't want to spoil it, but basically every year, my goal is to be more and more transparent with things on the back end, to share more on the wins, but more importantly, I would say the losses or mistakes that I'm making in building the business, in making the content, right? I also think that like to the point that I just made of the losses, this is not necessarily the best example, but I'll give you one that just happened. I was just doing a podcast with another individual named Callum, actually. Callum Johnson, great guy. And he was walking through the brand story framework in the workbook that we released with the course for free on YouTube. And he identifies that I call out, step one is you make a hook, and then step two is the problem. And I was like, well, that was stupid. The hook and the problem should be the same thing. I would redo that.
Yeah.
And instead of doing what I see a lot of people do when a moment like that comes up, trying to like reposition it and like, I was just like, yeah, that was stupid. Like I'm getting better at articulating my thoughts, right? I've spent 16 years doing, not documenting my doing. And so I'm currently in the process of looking at like, what have I been doing naturally? And how do I then articulate this in a process that other people can do something that I kind of just intuitively do naturally, right? And so that was a moment where I shared that. And I think in doing that, a lot of people would ask for that to be cut. Or there's been a couple of times where due to a 12-hour flight and a 14-hour film day yesterday, right after flying into town, I have spaced and lost my train of thought on here. And I turned to your team, and I don't know if we're going to end up having these included, but I was like, no need to cut those.
Yeah.
I like sharing that. And I want to do the same thing. We have to be respectful of our clients, of course, but I want to, at the level that we can, share as much as humanly possible. Now, I'm in the beginning stages, so I'm getting more and more comfortable with this. So every year, it will increase in transparency and vulnerability. Because again, I know what the best version would be, but if I did the best version year one, I'm gonna be freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I won't stick with it.
No.
Right? And so that's how I plan on doing it. I am not at the level of any of those characters that I've worked for, and I do not aspire to be. I do not have that ambition in any way, shape, or form. And so I want to document my process in my own way and share that fact. I think there's a lot of people that are talking about these like wildly big ambitions, and I think it's awesome. I don't have that crazy. I have big ambitions compared to maybe the average, Sarah or Joe, but like not at that level. And so I'm going to be documenting that because I think there's a lot of people that probably can relate to that. They feel this need to develop this crazy big ambition because the people they look up to do that. And I would like to show that like you can accomplish really big shit in your life without having this goal that you're just copying somebody else's goal, right? Like I saw it all the time with Gary fans of like, I want to buy the blank, their favorite team. I did this. I had like 6 months in my life where I was like, I want to buy the Seattle Seahawks. Because I do love the Seahawks, not to the level that Gary loves the Jets, but I do love them. I don't want to buy the Seahawks. That's bullshit. That's me just copying somebody else's goal, right? And so I think I want to be able to help people see that like you can have different goals and you can go about building these things in a different way than maybe has been modeled to date. And again, there's nothing wrong with what's being modeled. I think it's fucking awesome, right? Like I've gained a lot from that. I just maybe am speaking to a different crowd.
No, but that is why I wanted to get you on, because from the moment I got introduced to you and then the moment I saw you start posting, the one thing that just blew me away is how you stand out from the crowd and how confident you were in being more vulnerable, being more real, being more like quote unquote authentic. And yeah, that just stood out in a way that a lot of the other people in this space, I see them, but I don't watch them. I don't click on every video. Whereas with you, I really have done that. And yeah, because it just feels totally fresh as well. So I think that's kind of the biggest lesson I've taken from today is like, there's another way to do this versus what 95% of the advice out there is. And I think if people can use this approach and be confident in it, I think you're going to have so much more success because you will stand out by a mile. And yeah, absolutely love this, Caleb. Thanks so much for coming on. If someone's listened to this and they're pumped to take the first step, the next step, what would you tell them to do?
Well, first, thanks for saying that, man. That means the world. I not just saying that, like that really means a lot to me. So thank you. Because it's not easy, it's hard. And I have plenty of moments of second guessing, wow, I can't believe I just shared that. Wow. I can't believe I'm walking you through what I literally walk our clients through, like on this podcast, right? Like I have those moments. So it's not like it just comes naturally, but thank you. Where should they start? Should start by going to the top of this podcast and do that brand journey framework. We have things that can help with that, but you don't need that. Fucking do it on your own. Like I really believe that our goal is like in putting out the content that we put out, I really want people to be able to do this without working with us. And then there's going to be a select few people that it's like, they realize how hard or in depth all of that is. And they're like, cool, let's work with them kind of a thing. But for the majority of people, I just want them to take action. And really, honestly, if I can get a little intense for a second, I really want to see less bullshit out in the market. I think a lot of people are building personal brands that are making shit worse. I'll just say it that way, not making it better. And I believe, one man's opinion, if the majority of people started changing what they optimized around, we'd be making things a lot better for people, not worse. These social platforms might add more good than maybe they are right now. And so that's a huge mission of mine. If you want more information on how I do that, just watch the course that's free on YouTube. Download the workbook if you want to take action, but you don't even need to do that because I don't need the email, because I feel like every time people say that, then it's like pushing. I'm not. I just want people to be able to take action on this for free. Yeah. And so if that's a thing, cool. And then if you do take action on it, the one request that I have, DM me and let me know how it went.
Awesome. This was so much fun. And yeah, I'm sure this won't be the last time that we meet. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and let's do another one soon.
Thank you, Callum. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. If you enjoyed this episode and want to dive deeper on personal brand, I recommend you listen to my episode with Daniel Priestley. It's absolutely brilliant. On YouTube, click the link here to watch it, or you can find it on the Creator Playbooks podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out and let me know what you think.